Well,
Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of this podcast where we dive into mystical realms of subconscious, where we're trying to understand the working elements of this reality. So perhaps with that knowledge, we can shift into the reality of our dreams. And today I have a truly remarkable guest, my friend Tetiana McLemore. Shall I go by Tetiana or Tanya? How
yeah,
would you?
Tanya, Tetiana, whichever I prefer.
Awesome. Well, Tanya, thank you so much for joining me. How are you this morning? How's your energy?
Energy is pumping up, so it's good. Thank you, and thank you for having me. And yeah, you mentioned like mystical world, mystical realm of reality. That's kind of it's mystical until you find the way in, and then you figure everything inside out. So
Ab-
essentially, it's not that mystical, but for now,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to be discussing today. By the way, today we're talking about dream interpretation. It's really a fascinating subject that I think many would find an interest in and the benefits of understanding this matter. So, but before I introduce you and how all this thing started, just a little backstory. Tanya, first of all, is my dear friend. We have known each other for over 10 years, and just the way we got connected and stayed friends for over this 10 years is kind of a divine intervention of its own. Right. Because um, we met online 10 years ago. She conducted an interview. I was trying to get a position of medical interpreter, and I got to know that she's also from Ukraine. And then there was just energy in that conversation, right? And we stayed connected for all these years on Facebook, not like we were chatting all the time, but every so often we'll send messages to each other and just, support each other in this virtual world. And who would have known that 10 years later, her and her husband, out of all the places, because I lived in Ohio, she lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, she lived in Chicago. So I tried to go to Chicago once or twice, but it never worked out for me. And finally, out of all the places, her and her husband are moving to Houston, Texas, where I reside. And so after all these 10 years, we finally met at the end of the last year in person, in flash, so we could touch each other. And it was so fun because that energy that we had with you for all these 10 years online was just multiplied. It was like, yes, that's why we were connected and that's why we stayed friends because of this energy that we had in common. So I knew all this time until 2021 that you're an expert and a coach on personal development and business leadership. However, in that year, I also found out that you've undergone a training on dream interpretation and understanding our life and subconscious through dreams. So tell me how this fascination about dreams started for you.
Yeah, and before I dive in there, I'll just mention the fact that it's not just we're going to talk about dream interpretation because I prefer the terminology dream opening or dream work
Right,
because when we talk about interpreting dreams, it means like I interpret it for someone through my own perspective.
right,
However, with a dream opening, the technique I use when I work with my clients and even with myself or with my relatives and friends, I always talk about opening the dream, dream working, because I just share the perspective as a secondary dreamer and I return the dream to the original dreamer, and then you decide what to do with it, how to understand what's going on inside because it's your dream and I'm just part of it. I'm just living in this dream.
right.
So very short. So yeah, how I came in here, it was a very um, interesting journey as well. Like any journey, it is interesting. So that one was also interesting for me. Back in Ukraine when I was there, I don't remember the year exactly, but it was the day or the year when I was thinking about like, mm, there is something not enough in my life. I feel like I need to move, like I need to be fluid. I need to kind of literally transfer myself from one place to another. But I was so stuck in this kind of a fear, like, okay, but what if it doesn't work? If I go from one town to the other city, and I was planning to move from a very small town in Ukraine to a huge city as Kiev for me. I've never lived in a big city like that before, and I was not a young girl anymore. I was a girl with a few years. of experience, meaning like I'm already a kind of, well-built personality or identity. So it's even more scary, much scarier, I would say. And then I decided, okay, I need to make this decision, just to, because I feel I need it. And I went to, before I went to bed, like literally in the evening, the day before, I asked a question to the dream. I just said, hey, I cannot decide whether I need to go to Kiev or I should stay here. And I usually address this question to my mom, which was not there, not on this planet anymore. Like she
Mm.
passed away by the time, but I did ask her because she was the only kind of friend I could share something that was very personal to me. And I decided, okay, let me ask my mom for advice or recommendation. And I went with this kind of a question in my mind, to sleep. And once I woke up the next morning, I already knew what I should do because the
Wow.
actual answer came to me in my dream. And in that dream, I still remember it as clear as it is today, but it was, I would say, probably about 13 years ago, even more. Even I would say probably 14, 15 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
So I remember it very clearly to the very single detail. What was it all about? And in that dream, my mom actually did show up in the dream, and she was carrying two large suitcases, bigger than herself, I should say. And she pointed out, to a, silver greyhound bus like in the US, but I wasn't dreaming about moving to the US. I was, just thinking whether should I go to Kiev, but I did see this huge silver greyhound standing on like brand new, shining on the, emerald green slope or something, and with the doors open. But there was only one door open in that bus, and it
Mm.
was just the middle door. And my mom, she didn't say in that dream, she doesn't say anything at all. She doesn't say a single word, but she just, throws those two back or suitcases into the open door of the bus and shows me, get in.
Wow.
So this is how I knew. I actually got in, from the bus, and then when I woke up, I understood, or I kind of opened it for myself that, yeah, for my decision to move, I should go. And that was the answer. It's very direct because sometimes, our dreams may be surrealistic. And the deeper you go, or the deeper you dive into your own self,
Hmm.
the more surrealistic your dreams become. However, you are looking for that clear dream where it's like all, just um, gets into one single picture that you realize, oh, this is what it's about. This is what I am, and this is where I want to go, and this is what is best for me. And since then, I should say, I started kind of getting more and more into this dreaming world and figuring out how this works. How can I use this power of the dreaming to make more informed and well informed decisions? And since
Can you
then,
tell me, like, speaking of this, right? I feel like many people, including myself, if not often, but at least once or twice in our lifetime, would have some dream that would carry some significance to where we can wake up and feel how vivid the dream was, or we can literally even still experience the emotional state that we were experiencing in the dream. But the time goes by, we kind of forget about it. We don't dig deeper. We just move on with our life. And I'm sure you kind of moved on from there as well. The life, took off its own course, and you actually ended up moving to the United States. At which point in your life you said, no, hold on. There is something in here that I should really explore and learn it as a modality.
yeah, and that is exactly, happened when I did move from Ukraine to the United States.
Hmm.
And, we all have our expectations, we all have our own perspectives of the world. We kind of live in that other type of reality before the reality actually meets us and hits us right into
That's
our
right.
face. So essentially, when I moved from Ukraine to the United States, and I've been living for about a year, a little bit more than a year in the States, in Chicago. And I felt like I was a little bit lost, and it was not working for me. Like, so what am I doing here? That is the question I was asking, because everything seems so foreign, seems so kind of, different, and I
Mm,
felt like I was out of the place. And I knew there is always, like, yeah, in terms of psychology, there's always cultural shock everyone experiences, and for everyone is always different. But it's so hard to find yourself in a bigger country, in a bigger place. And although the city was beautiful, the people were welcoming and everything, but the idea of finding your own place, it was always like an issue. And I remember I started my coaching practice at the time, not coaching practice, but coaching training at the time,
hmm.
because I thought it would help me to find, or I would, I don't really like the word, to use the word find. I would probably say to remember who I really
Hmm.
am, because instead of, we just forget, for
Right.
some reasons, something's happening in our life, and then we tend to forget who we are, what we want, where we want to go, because there are so many other perspectives that are being kind of projected onto us, and hence of that we accept that projective or perspective without even asking ourselves, is this really mine? Do I really want it? Do I really need it?
Right. Who
And
come up with
because of,
this to begin with? And why
yeah,
is it a fact?
yeah, that's right. So you keep asking all those questions, but some people just, the majority, I should say, we don't ask those questions. However, I did. I was probably lucky enough, I should say, or grown up enough to ask myself in terms of, mature enough to ask myself, okay, so where I am in all of this, huge planes and everything. And in with the coaching training, I was also getting another education, Ph.D. In psychology and leadership. And at that point, there was so much like study, learning. And it wasn't enough. So uh, I remember my husband coming out and saying, hey, you know what? There is like a lady. She is actually teaching dream work. She's having workshops online, dreaming. And I
Hmm.
said, like, that is like, I don't think I need it. But at the same time, I think I've always been interested in dreams. They were
Sure.
like, they fascinated me. And I said, if that came to me at that moment, I should trust the process, because this is what coaching teaches you, right? You have to trust the process in order to just allow yourself be,
Absolutely.
right? Like, oh, what if? But at that point, I decided, okay, no what if. I'll just go with the flow. I'll accept this offer of this workshop. It was online. And this is how I met Dr. Bunny Buckman. And she was actually teaching. She went straight into this dream work. And it turned out that for how many classes we had for the first group, it was small, but kind of intimate group, about 5 or 6 people. I don't remember exactly. But for every class we had of 10 classes, we usually we usually brought a dream. And for every class, it was my dream, which was actually dreamt of and open.
Interesting.
So they're like, wow, that's
How did
amazing.
that happen? I'm sorry. Like, did you guys actually, did everybody else got shy or didn't remember the dreams, which we actually going to
Yeah,
talk a little bit
we
in
were taught how to remember the dreams. And everyone was like, learning the same stuff, because there is a technique how to remember the dreams.
hmm.
And that, like when you wake up,
Absolutely.
you're running, and then you need to do so many things during the day. So your mind wakes up immediately to the waking world and stop dreaming. So, but when we are laying down, this is when this magic, as you said, mystery happens. We are kind of slowing down, and our images that come from our subconscious start speaking. So essentially, dreaming is the language of our subconscious.
Mm,
Like learning a foreign language is the same. When we are learning the dream work, we are learning a foreign language, but it's not that foreign because it's ours. It's so unique to us, and it speaks in images, in sounds, and images, and emotions, and colors, and all of that. So we were taught how to remember the dreams, and it just happened when we have a class of, a circle, the so-called dream circle or dream group. We usually do an exercise to choose a dreamer whose dream we're going to open. And it turned out that every time everybody in the group saw that my dream has to be opened, have to be opened. And
Oh, so would you
we had,
share a snippet of each other's dream or to choose the
or
most interested one or
no, we usually, like, what we did, and this is how it works, like before the class or before the dream opening, everybody shares a dream, but nobody reads it. Like we send it or share a dream with one person who is like the host of the dream shop of
oh
the
my,
dream.
so it was totally anonymous, right? They didn't really
Yes,
know whose
anonymous.
dream
You
your
don't
guys
know. Yeah,
picking.
yeah, absolutely. You don't know who's we only the only thing we knew is just that how many dreams we have and who sent the dream. That's it. Like, John, Mary, Tanya, Ina, and who else? That's it. Those dreams were in for Bonnie to tell us that, hey guys, now close your eyes, do this exercise, and see or hear the name of the person we're going to open the dream for today. And every time it was me. I even saw
Oh,
myself that, like, in that exercise, during that exercise, every time I was like even shy and I didn't know, should I say my name because I did
right,
this?
because it could be so biased, right? But oh, it's incredible. I didn't know that, by the way. So it's another little crumble from the universe, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, and
So
then you do the, special kind of steps to open the dream. And it's just an amazing experience.
that was an incredible story. And let me share my story of
Okay,
this journey
sure.
that started with you, of course. Well, of course, it has a prehistory. And you've spoken about like these little messages from the universe, right? Like the answer from the dream you received and how you met Bonnie. And that was another thing that led you to where you are right now. So for me, it was that 2021 when we worked with you. But the reason we worked with you is that always periodically stay in touch, but not always we knew the details of our lives. 2020, the world is going through a global pandemic, right?
Uh,
And there is a lot of bad things happening, a lot of good things happening too. But that year happened to be an incredible year for me. It actually was a really good year. A lot of shifts have happened uh, to positive on a lot of different in a lot of different areas of my life, financial, personal, emotional, spiritual, like on a lot of things. I leveled up fast in that year. But on the other hand, I was seeing a lot of nightmares. And
mhm.
I'm not prone to nightmares, first of all. It's not like I periodically see a nightmare. So I used to see nightmares in the past. I actually feel like the last time I remember seeing nightmares when we were younger and maybe once in a blue moon when I was older. But yeah, I saw them not every day, but often enough to start questioning what's going on because nightmares are associated with like unpleasant feelings, feelings of fear, and so on and so forth. But I was going through the greatest time of my life. So I was buggled. I was like, what's happening here? And of course, it's not like I proactively decided to find the answer, but the universe showed up. We're having a catch up conversation with you in the beginning of 2021. And I don't know how I decided to share with you about, like, hey, I'm seeing all these nightmares. And then you end up telling me that you've worked with people on dream opening and started to actually help me to understand what's happening. And I immediately understood that in that room, in that instance, was me, you, and the universe. And the
Mhm.
universe presented me with like easy to follow path, right? It's like, okay, you were
Here's the
curious.
door. Let's go
Here it
in.
is. And who it could be better with than a dear friend of mine I trusted and been in touch with for over 10 years. So then we ended up going on a 10-week sessions, right? At a 10-week course with you where I learned a ton. And that helped me tremendously, really, to go to the next level in my life. So, but why are people in general, you think, are so fascinated with dreams, but at the same time are not really trying to understand it on a deeper level? Why we're
Okay.
always fascinated on the
Yeah,
subject?
we are, well, things that we don't know, they are at the same time exciting and scary. And that's what the point, and that's why we have, like, even the dreams, they can be scary because we see all these monsters. And, why people don't want to dive into it's that, they many people do want to dive into the transformation. They want to change, they want to be better versions of themselves every single day. but they are not daring to just because it is a scary journey. So just
Hmm.
like working with a nightmare that you mentioned, because the image or whatever sound or emotion we feel is that type of an energy that's a blueprint that is inside of you, and it is being suppressed by your own thinking or by the way how you see the world, how you view everything, the entire universe, how you see yourself, how you perceive yourself in this world. So essentially, because of that, you start telling your brain, your mind starts telling you the stories, which are
Hmm.
like, oh, you know what? I'd rather be safe than sorry, so I won't do this. However, I want it so much. I feel like it's mine. Things like that. And because of that, the scary stuff, like piling up, these suppressed emotions, they're piling up and they are showing through the subconscious in a variety of different images, like monsters or dark and gloomy dreams and everything. It's just because you're stuck, and all you need to do is just need to face that fear. We are full of fears. We have so many different types of fears, and that's okay to have those fears. I would say, like if somebody tells me that I'm not afraid of anything in this life, I would say that person probably is either crazy or the person who is lying. That's it, because
Right.
everyone is afraid of everything, for sure. We're afraid of unknown in the first place. It's uncertainty, and that's why we do kind of fascinate it in the dream in a way, but we're uncertain whether we want to know what it really means because, like, it's scary. What if it means we think? What if it
Sure.
means? But I would say that there are no bad or good dreams. They're just the dreams. And they exist. If there is a reason why they exist, it's just because they tell us stories about our own selves. What's happening somewhere deep inside when we don't even really realize we have that kind of depth of personality that we'd rather pay attention to those dreams. Because when we start paying attention to those
Hmm.
images, even if it's just a slight kind of emotional state after the dream,
Right.
like when you wake up, you cannot remember at first everything, but then if you wake up and you feel like, I'm kind of down or I'm kind of, disappointed or any type of the feeling.
Right.
So it stays. It's a remnant of the dream you had. You may not remember all the images, but you just remember the kind of, that kind of
Symbolism of it, right?
coating of it. Yeah, the coating of it and that the feeling. So essentially, we have to work with this type of a feeling. Or, like, for example, I had a person client who had a dream and he said, okay, you know what? All I remember is a leaf, that I saw a leaf, and this leaf. And then when we started asking him questions and going through all of these steps of the dream opening, turned out to be a story. He said,
Wow.
oh my, like whatever you have told me right now, it's just like what's going on in my life. Because in the dream, we see every aspect of ourselves. We
That's
see
true.
everything.
And I know I learned it a big way, through working with you about the symbolism of the dream, right? Because at first it feels like it's just some random objects or nonsense situations or places we've never seen or people we've never met. But once you start understanding the symbolism of the dream, you can actually understand that every object or every place has some meaning for your subconscious. And I want to bring up two things here. First of
Oh,
all, from Queen Elizabeth interactions to a big pink cat to escaping the dungeon. That was
mhm,
all things in my dream that were aspects of my subconscious, right?
mhm,
And I remember back in the day, I'm sure maybe your parents did the same, or my mom had this dream interpretation book. This
yeah,
is how we used to understand dreams. First of all, it tells you that people are always fascinated in understanding it, this
yeah,
subject. But we did the best that we could. And what it was literally like a really thick book that had words in alphabetical order. And let's say if I woke up and I had a dream of some significance and I would tell about it to my mom, she'll reach out for the book and she'll find some words that just the descriptions of my dream, whether it's a dog or an alligator or maybe a cactus, right? And she'll go and find like dog or cactus and what it means. And I want to
Mm-hmm.
talk about how this is a wrong way interpreting the dream because it's so personally tailored to you, right? And why that symbolism truly matters to you and no one else. So,
Yeah. Yeah, indeed, we do have this like a dictionary, dream dictionary or something, as we say,
right.
and many people still use it. Like they Google for it, they, maybe use, I don't know if they use the real books, but probably Googling the first thing, like, oh, what does it mean? What does this thing mean in my dream? But I would say that it's not that it is a wrong way to interpret the dream. Maybe for interpretation, it's the right way. I'm not sure. But for the opening the dream, uh, since all of these aspects you see and feel, they are very unique and specific to you, it's not about seeing the meaning of something. It's about feeling the idea of what it tells you. It's kind of that type of a mystery that you just have to try and see through the dream opening, because there is a secondary dreamer, and if it is a dream group, there are multiple perspectives, and they are showing you those multiple perspectives. You may not be seeing. That's the point. And then you just accept or kind of try on that perspective, like you're trying a dress, and then say, hey, how does it feel for me? Does it feel good? Do I really feel good? And this, like, do I like it? Or don't I like it? What all of these questions. And then if you like it, you just accept it and you explore it. You put on this dress, you put on this perspective, and you go out and see how it works. And then you try to observe and notice if something has changed. So essentially, if you see a cat in a dream, it may feel to you one thing, but for
Mm-hmm.
me, absolutely different, because I don't know, we may have different attitudes towards a cat in a house or like a domesticated animal. We might prefer some kind of a wild cat, maybe a tiger, a lion. So all of these aspects, that's why when we are opening a dream, we're asking a lot of questions. We're asking for those kind of perspectives, and we are also verifying the facts from reality. Is this something that maybe is interfering with your dream uh, opening, or if you're going through this thing, it may mean that it may feel it, nothing. That's why you can see it in the dream. You can feel it in the dream. But if it is like, oh, okay, there is an absolutely different perspective, and I was, maybe going through some kind of emotional stuff at work, at home before I saw that dream. The dream is telling you what's the next step, how you can get unstuck if you feel stuck.
That was
Or,
my favorite part of learning
yeah,
how to work with dreams because it's not really only about understanding. You probably kind of know what's going on. Maybe
yeah,
sometimes you don't want to admit it or you want to brush it off, that something
yeah.
bothers you. But when the dream really uncovers the truth, then the next step is having those dreams and start working with your subconscious and talk to it
Mhm.
back through dreams, not just
Right.
only hear it talking to you or hear yourself talking to yourself. Basically, you can have the dialogue. That's the fascinating part too.
Yeah, that's right. And it's just like, when you see these kind of because if there is a dream, and when we open a dream, we do see if there is a necessity which has to be resolved. And you usually work with that necessity, not just by expressing what is in the dream as a secondary dreamer, but you are also working with a specific, imagery exercise to help the original dream to really shift through this type of block they have. It's like a blocked energy, and we do have all of each of us, a single person, any any real person has those blocked energies again because it comes from the early times when we were born and how we were brought up, and all of the other things that all of our other perspectives we are accepting as ours, and
Mm-hmm.
think that we should live according to them, or we must live. It's very, you know, um, kind of very, very weak border in between, and here with a should, with a must, we have to, all of these things, like all the modality, right? But in fact, yeah, the dream, once you do this exercise, it shifts you, it unblocks you, and allows you to resume the regular fluidity of your body, of your mind and body connection, because this is how it's essential type of, I would say, technique. People use yoga, people use um, ayahuasca, people use all of the possible techniques to help them move again, feel
Mm-hmm.
alive. So dream work is very similar to that. It just helps you to get unstuck, and all you need to do is just look for the images. And if people open to this imagery where you've made everyone dreams, it's just everyone literally dreams, and everyone sees a bunch of kind of interconnected images which fluid fluidly get into a story line and everything. But it's just that not so many people remember the dreams.
Right. And
We
speaking of which, good topic to discuss as well. So some people might say, "Well, I don't remember none of my dreams, right? Like it would be rarely that I'll remember something." And what I want to say from my personal experience, that's totally trainable and coachable. It's just like any other skill or any other habit. You can develop a habit of remembering the dream because in the beginning, even for me, it was a little difficult to recall because I'm not used to just even spending some time with my own mind and subconscious in the morning. Usually we get up and start moving and start running. But if you really intentional about this work and about talking to your subconscious, it's fascinating how I went from remembering some to basically remembering a lot. And of course, what's going on in your life and how well you rest and your lifestyle definitely affects it. Like some more stressful weeks, if you
yeah,
remember, I could have
yeah.
remembered not as many dreams or maybe even just one in a whole week. But on the average days and average lifestyle that I have, I started to recall many details of many dreams. So tell us about how that is a coachable thing and how that
Yeah,
should not be an obstacle for anyone not to do this work.
yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. Exactly. Like even me, although I work with dreams, with my own dreams, I don't necessarily remember every single
Hmm.
dream. I mean, like, I remember it just sometimes because I may be super busy and I just don't have enough time to
Write it out.
down and write it down. Yeah, that's essentially what it is. Sometimes I remember so many details of my dreams that for me to write down one dream may take up an hour and a half. That is how many,
Absolutely.
yeah, for so many years, I kind of trained myself to remember everything, literally every single movement in the dream, every single feeling in the dream, color or detail. And that's why it is so much time consuming. But you have to run to work, you have to run to do your chores and everything. So I would say that yes, and you were right when you were saying that, hey, we have to set an intention. That's the first thing you do, you set an intention. How you can do that, the first thing is just to go to a store, like, or maybe like a bookshop or something, or even online. You know, everybody is digital now. But if we are talking about mind and body connection, if we're going back to ourselves, if we're going to back to remembering our true identity, who we truly are, what we truly then it's better to have this manifestation physical one, like physical presence. It's better to go and really touch the book. Like, for example, if I
Hmm.
have this, my favorite dream book where my dream journal, then I have to put it here. I will have to like it. Even I have to love it. It speaks to me. So
Sure.
sometimes, online, when you're buying it online, we have all these modern gadgets to show us everything that's for us just to buy. It may misrepresent the object, the product we are buying. That's why going physically into the store,
Sensing the energy is
yes,
important. It's
sensing the
very hard
energy,
to do it online with just a
that's it.
static image.
Absolutely. So then that would I recommend doing first, going and getting the dream journal, the
Hmm.
book that speaks to you. You feel it. Oh, that's me. It's not just mine, but it's me. It has to be you before you can talk to yourself. And the same with a pen or a pencil, which you're going to write your dreams into this dream journal. It has to be you. because it's an aspect of you. It's
Hmm.
essentially everything you see in a dream, or for that matter, yeah, I'm dreaming right now. It's a dream, but it's a kind of awakening dream.
Sure.
The one which is mystical to us, the one that is surrealistic most of the time or making no sense kind of dream, that is something that we have to learn to speak to in the first place before we can realize what's going on right now here. Even if we realize what's going on right now here, sometimes we just don't know what to do next. And the dreams, when we work with those dreams, so you go and buy the journal, you go and buy the pen, and whenever you decided, okay, I want to talk to myself in terms of what is inside and I cannot hear, this is when you start setting that intention of dreaming and remembering the dreams. You put your journal next to your bedside table or very next to the hat where you sleep, and you also put a pen, and you may want to have some kind of a night light in case you wake up in at night and you want to write something down. So that will be also very helpful. And before going to bed, you just sit down in your bed or you just lay down in your bed and you tell yourself that, oh no, wait, before you also need to write down the day whenever you have in
Hmm.
this dream to date it. And you say, hey, today is July, June, whatever date, whatever, yeah. And then you just lay down in bed and you say, today I'm seeing a dream. And I'm remembering every single aspect, every single detail of the dream. And you go to sleep.
And I like how simple it is. And that's, for the most part, a lot of things of the subconscious and just understanding the reality is not that complex. It's actually very simple. We're taught to think that it has to be some rituals and is just for gifted people. But actually, it's much simpler than it is. Sometimes it just comes down to wanting or be open for the thing to take place in your life, like
Yeah, that's
setting the
right. Because
intention and letting it go freely
yeah,
so, playfully so.
absolutely. Because dreaming is a tool. But we are, because it's our dreaming, so it means that we have the tool inside of us to help us fix whatever we need to fix or change. And essentially, all the answers are within us for whatever questions we may have. We can't find it somewhere else. We can't find it with somebody else, but we can find them.
Mm-hmm.
But for us to be able to do that, we need to be tuned to our inner world. And that's why what we do the first thing, we set an intention to be really open to hear what our dream world, what our dream self tells us. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why we set an intention with the journal, actual wording or verbiage you are saying whenever you're going to bed. And then you say that I remember the dream. And
And
then
in the morning, I
just
know
put it
that
down.
sometimes you were saying, sorry for
Yeah,
interrupting.
that's okay. No worries.
In the morning, sometimes, from again, what I remember is that even if you don't remember the whole plot or what was happening, even writing down the words, like you said, leave, right? Or the feeling, or whatever few things that you think is a descriptive of what you've
Hmm.
experienced with your subconsciousness in that night is just as helpful as if you
Yes.
would. Of course, if the more details, the better. But still, that this is still worth to work with.
Yes, absolutely. And here is the thing that is again, it's a technical skill of remembering, just like we're learning a poem. Yeah, we're memorizing a poem. We have to repeat it a few times. And for many people, it can be like maybe done with 5 times. For some, it's like 100 times, and they finally remember this poem by heart. But again, you don't have to feel discouraged. That no matter what I do, no matter how I set that
Mm-hmm.
intention, you don't have to be hooked to that. Okay, I'm not seeing the dream. I'm not seeing the dream. You will see it. You will remember it because you actually see it. All you need to do, let it go. Don't hold it too tight for that
Don't
kind of
try too hard in a way.
yeah, that's
Don't
right.
don't try. Just
Absolutely. Just set the intention that you remember. When you wake up, you remember. And the first thing you do in the morning is not just rushing out of bed. Lay down when you feel this kind of moment of waking to reality, to today's day. What do you need to do? Still with your eyes closed. try to rewind whatever you remember in the dream, starting from the back to the very beginning. Unwind everything you can remember, and then slowly, because like not to drink the idea of that the dream will just poof disappear. So slowly just open your eyes and sit down in your bed, take your journal and write everything down. And the first rule of writing the dreams is that you have to write everything in present tense,
Mm,
everything, because it's now, it's happening right at the moment. And the dream actually they make sense. When we're working with you, you remember that you may have multiple dreams during the night or during the week, sorry, right? And then you bring only one dream to work with
to the
when
session, yeah.
we're meeting on that session, yes, because you decide which is the
Hmm.
most kind of screaming to your dream, the one that is like inviting you to open. So it's not that me who tells you, oh, what was like bring
Right.
me the
You
money,
are definitely a
whatever.
coach in a
Yeah.
way. And what
Yeah.
I learned in 10 weeks obviously was more powerful to do it with you. But Tanya gives you enough tools for you to take with you to where, hey, if you want to open the other dreams that you saw that week, you'll be able actually to do it on your own. The idea here is to help you understand how this process works so you
Hmm.
can like literally have it as a tool in your toolbox to working with yourself, your higher self, your subconsciousness, and have it with you, ongoingly, basically,
Yeah.
to
Right.
where you can open anything and not just the dreams that you're seeing, but start opening the dreams of your waking life, which I slowly kind of moved
Yeah.
to. But before
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the waking life dreaming, what about the lucid dreaming? Because it's kind of kind of like crisscross between the two, the real life and the dream life.
Yeah.
Tell us about what those are and how one can experience a lucid dream.
Oh, yeah. That's the lucid dreaming. It's something that it's really words fail me to describe once you have a lucid dream and how you feel and what's going on with you. And there is also a special technique, to teach yourself to lucid dream, meaning to be awake in your dream and
Mm-hmm.
you're dreaming. And that's inside of my own dream. So, and this is when you feel that kind of real power that you feel better than a Superman, better than a
So,
Superwoman, whatever.
lucid dreaming is actually to realize in the dream that you're
Yeah.
dreaming. Is that right? Okay.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So you really understand, oh, that's my dream. And I can do whatever I want in here. Just like, and we have to teach through this opening work, through the dream work. We teach ourselves, like when I work with the clients, we teach ourselves to bring that type of feeling, being awake in our awakening, meaning that, oh, I can do everything I want and there are no limits to that. But that feeling is so powerful. That feeling is so marvelous that you just cannot describe it, how it feels.
All
Because
right.
it's
I
again,
think I, from your expressions, I can tell that you've probably experienced lucid
again,
dreaming before.
oh,
Tell us, to give us a sample. Give
okay,
us maybe your first time, or maybe your most memorable one, and like
yeah,
how did it go?
I would probably go with the last one. So I mentioned Dr. Bonnie Buckner, and I'm still working with her because she opened an institute for dreaming and imagery. And now and then I take extra classes with her. Enough I have time and everything. So, and we've been working with her on one of the techniques again for, awakened dreams in terms of realizing that you are awake during dream, as I say, lucid dreaming. So we're working on manifesting the dreams. So we've been going beyond that. So essentially,
Hmm,
how to attract things I want in my life, or I need in my life, or it's better both, need and want at the same time through lucid dreaming. And
interesting.
yeah, and I remember that when I was doing this lucid dreaming dream or exercise, I had the dream where I saw myself like an Alice in Wonderland wearing this tricky skirt, walking around the like clockwise, in the dream, going through the auditorium of students who I work with as well as a professor, and then suddenly climbing some kind of a very interesting stairs, and then finally looking at my hands. And this is the point when you're lucid dreaming, you have to teach yourself to wake up in the dream. And one of the exercises you do, you look at your hands during the day a few times. You see that, okay, these are my hands. I see them now as they are, blah, blah, blah. But next time when I see them in my dream, I know I'm dreaming. So you kind of find an object that
In
would
real
help
life.
you up, yeah, in real life, in waking life, to wake you up in the dream. So, and then suddenly, hop, I see my hands, and then I suddenly, ooh. And the task was for us to find a thing, something, or whatever it was, because a dream is a dream. And oh, predictable things can happen. So she asked us to find that thing that would help us um, manifest the thing we want in our life. And at the time in my real life, when I had that dream, I was looking for a car. And I needed a car because, like in Houston, you're Houstonian. It's impossible
Sure.
to live without it. So
Yes.
I had to
It's a
kind of,
must.
go back to basics and buy a car or find a car for myself. And I was torn between two. I kind of, wanted like first I wanted one car, BMW Cooper, then I wanted like SUV, like one brand, then another brand. Like there were so many options, and I was lost in those options, and I didn't really know which one would I need to for myself, which would be like mine, which spoke to me.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't feel it, so I asked my
You
dream,
know
and in
what?
that
I'm just going to pause you for a second. Just hold your thought.
dream,
This is a great example to where sometimes your mind is disconnected, like your mind is overtaking the decision making process, which we
oh yeah,
do all the time. And this is a great way of connecting to the, because the true self knows, right?
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
because you're thinking and you're using your logic. So we're trained to do that more than we need. We're
yeah,
opting in for that. And some, we don't really hear inside, what represents me? What decision represents me in the situation? So I love how this can be a tool of, if you feel like you really cannot feel that, why don't we
mhm,
let go and kind of let the dream be a tool or a permission slip, if you will, for us to go and discover it there? So, sorry,
yeah.
carry on.
That's correct. Oh, that's a really good addition, and you put it really well here.
Because you were
So yeah,
thinking a lot, right? You had to go through a lot of logical, making sense
yeah,
things,
we
right?
like facts, right? We need facts. So we do all this math before, like even in the case of buying a car, you would do all the math. Okay, if I lease the car, if I buy the car, if I rent the car, if I blah blah blah, all of the
Size,
things.
mileage, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely, and you still feel lost. So even go with which car you want, because like, do I need this one, or do I really like need it or want it only because people, the majority of people or the market tells me to buy it and things like that. So essentially, uh, with this feeling of loss, I would say, hey, and there are also like affordability in terms of what can you afford, because sometimes you want something that is not affordable, that is definitely not yours. You will lose it in a few
Mm-hmm.
years or even sooner, and or you will lose the option to finance whatever option you decided to go with. A lot of things can happen because again, it's a type of uncertainty, and it's scary, and that's why we have this fear and we feel lost. And when I worked with this exercise, I saw an object that was a mask, like this carnival mask wearing people would wear in ancient times, and sometimes we wear it not for different types of balls or whatever parties, all of
Like a
that.
Venetian mask, right? That
Venetian,
type
yeah,
one.
exactly, Venetian mask. And I was so drawn to it, like, a mask. How do I manifest this with my like a car with a mask, right? It just doesn't make sense. And then because I kind of taught myself, and I'm still kind of teaching, but still, I would say 80% of the time, I taught myself to trust the process, to go with whatever. Okay, mask is a mask. So, how do I open the ring? What does it mean to me? And I've already had a few options lined up for me. And then suddenly, um, when I was walking to work because I didn't have a car at the time. I was walking to work and I see a cross in the sky like this, made like this by planes. You know?
Interesting.
Page. Okay. Next time, next day, I was going again. Again, the same cross in the sky, but in a different place, but made of planes, the plane traces, you
That's
know,
in
the
real
plane
life, right? You're talking
in
about
real
right now
life. Yeah,
symbols in waking
yeah.
life. Okay.
I'm just trying to connect dots over here with a mask and this kind of a cross. What does it?
What about
And
the
then
Wonderland? Is that the lucid dream?
and
You're
again,
you're
it's a
gonna okay.
wonder. Like when you're wondering, it's a wonder, right? You're wondering what car. So that's what. And why mask? This is also the wondering. That's the idea of wondering. And remember, Alice, she kind of gets inside of herself. Like whenever she's falling inside of
The
that
rabbit
hole,
hole,
the
yes.
rabbit.
She
Yes,
goes in the depth of the subconscious mind. It all
exactly,
connects.
exactly. And that's why it's all like weird. It's like behind the mirror, something inside of it, right? So she's inside of herself. She's inside of her subconscious, and she's talking to herself. She's meeting all these crazy things again because they are all aspects of her, and they're teaching a lot of things. And nowadays we have a bunch of quotes from Alice in Wonderland from the book that they can be used as a transformational quotes in terms of like, this is so simple and it is so true. And
Right.
but coming back to that crosses in the sky, and then suddenly, finally, the third time, and usually kind of looking for these confirmations in real life. And the third time when I was walking, I saw the same cross. It like I really was drawn to the asphalt, to the sidewalk, and there was a cross in the spot where the car would.
Hmm.
And it was all dawned on me immediately. Oh my God, the cross is like the center of that cross is like the mask that you would put the ending of the mask, like the
That's right.
corners of the mask.
Right.
And but that cross was exactly like the mask because whenever it crossed on the
Oh,
parking
it's also
pavement,
kind of
but
like an infinity or like
yeah,
a bow.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly. And then it reminds me of the letter M. And one of the options I had, it was Mazda. And then I knew even when I'm saying Mazda, I feel this like my body moves to it. My body tells me, yes, that's the choice. Because I also, through the dreaming, you teach this mind and body connection and
Sure.
you learn yourself how to do that. And then your body starts responding and helping you. Like that type of intuition or gut feeling, as we say, it just speaks to you and it tells you, yes, that's yours. So, and this is how I got my Mazda. So, because that was exactly the car I wanted to. Yeah. Although there were two other options, and since then I don't regret, and it feels like it's my car, it's me. It
Yes.
just
And
doesn't
did you actually wake up in a dream? Was it lucid? Did you
yeah,
realize yourself in
wake
it?
up. This is when I wake up and I realized that when I saw my hands in this Wonderland area, and I saw my hands, and I'm in a dream, and I'm supposed, and I remember the task, and I'm supposed to find an object that can help me to manifest something that I really needed. And that was the car that I needed, but I couldn't figure out how the math could help me to figure out the car.
Sure.
And only after like letting it, finding this confirmation and following this kind of a dream trail, it helped me to figure out. Yeah, so first of all, when you look in the sky and you see the plane, it's a transportation, right? It's a
Sure.
transportation. And you're looking for the transportation. So essentially the same way here. One second time, again, the same cross from from the plane. And then finally, I saw the final one on the land, which was on the parking lot, right? Where the car would park. And this is how I realized, this is how my dream manifested into reality in terms of which car I need to buy.
This
And
is incredible.
yeah,
I want to put my 2 cents to it to say that, first of all, as you can see, working with this tool is very creative work. It's very
mhm,
playful. So don't expect maybe, or don't get frustrated if you don't hear like yes or no answers or not like
okay,
a definite answer. And more often than not, you will not get that precisely, in a sentence or in a word. So there's a little bit of in universe works like this. It likes to play with us. Like it's a little like treasure hunt here. Like you have to go through the book, right? And you have to discover the meaning. But what I like about this work is when you get trained on doing it and you're doing it more often and often, because look how many things she just connected that seemingly are,
This
different things from disconnected. Yes. Once you're gonna learn how to do it with dreams, you're gonna start applying it into real life.
mm-hmm.
And that's where magic happens. Suddenly, because symbolism is present in awakened life as well, suddenly you're going to start picking up on the
Notice,
symbolism in
yeah,
your
you're not,
real life, and you're going to start know how to connect it. So you're going to start to talk to your subconscious and higher self, not only in the dream, but in awakened life, connecting the two. Mind blowing. This is
yeah,
what's how this work is incredible in that
yes,
sense.
absolutely, because the life, waking life, as we say it, it's also that type of a dream. So we do dream, as I say, every single day. And that's why we have like one and the same word. We have to express the dream that a goal we want to achieve, and the dream we have in this sleep, right? So
Yeah.
essentially, a dream is what we are living in. But because we are we're trying to get to the this multitasking, going into different directions at the same time, trying to have it all at the same time, we are losing this connection to our own self, to our body, to just forget how our body helps us to move in the right direction. So
Mm-hmm.
essentially, doing work, we always figure out where we are stuck, how to get unstuck, where to go, which direction, what
Mm-hmm.
kind of things I need to go there, and how to manifest everything I need. Because, people want to have the next TV and the next TV and the next TV or another car and another car and another car, multiple cars, but they still feel lost. They feel still incomplete. And we cannot replace our, we cannot actually not replace, but we cannot fill in this beast that we
Mm-hmm.
feel with the material things because it's impossible. What we need to do is to feel, to allow ourselves to feel. And through the dream work, we remember what it means to feel him.
Yes. And
Mindful.
really, when people say that they want to achieve something, that's is also kind of what I'm passionate about. Many times we don't actually know what we want and what is it we really desire, because people default to the same maybe five things: $1 million in a bank, car,
Mm-hmm.
this and that. Like they default, and it's okay to
Yeah,
want to
nothing
have
bad
that.
with that. Absolutely.
But the
Yeah.
idea is, what are you trying to feel when you get that? What is the feeling? Like, are you gonna feel safe, secure? You're gonna feel abundant. You're gonna feel connected. What is the feeling you're chasing after? Because that feeling can be represented with maybe even other objects that or even actions that you already can take in today's reality, right? So dreams are also incredibly powerful in terms of understanding yourself better and what is it you really want. Because if you don't have clarity, it's like spinning the wheels. Like you said, we're trying to do two different things or many different things at the same time. And I find it even true for myself, especially in that phase. If you remember, I had number two showing up quite often, if not all the dreams. That means I was very conflicted with myself. Like the paths were opening up, but there were many of them. And sometimes I was like torn between certain decisions. And so that clarity really helped me not to waste my energy on something that were not aligned with me, but pursue something that true aligns with me. And it didn't matter how logics looked back then, right? I
Yeah.
also wanted to ask you about this topic of recurring dreams, and I
Mm-hmm.
would go back to the story with my mom. My mom, I don't know if I've ever had some recurring dreams, but my mom told me when I was younger, at least. I don't think she sees these dreams anymore, but when I was younger, she was telling me about these two dreams. One of them was that she was running away in this, of course, narrow tunnel from this huge round rock that was just rolling down the tunnel, and she had nowhere to escape, right? So it was like really fearful nightmare, if you will. And then the other one that was the home that where she grew up in was flooding, and then she was worrying about her family and how to escape and things of that sort. I think those dreams stopped for her at some point, but she saw them more than once or twice, like multiple times. And the roller and rock dream was over years haunting
Mm-hmm.
her. So what's up with that? And what the subconscious tries us to tell? Maybe it's screaming and yelling at us at this
Yeah,
point.
exactly. That's what it does. It's like, that kind of wake up call or wake up phone call, or the one that is like trying to wake you from inside and say, hey, it's time to do something about it, or it can be late. Thank God it wasn't too late maybe for your mom because she somehow resolved it without talking to a dream, but it took her many, many, many years to resolve it in real
Mm-hmm.
life, to overcome that nightmare or recurring dream that it doesn't come to her anymore in the dream, the same type of an image. But that's a wake up call. And they say, hey, there is an issue, a serious issue, as it was your own self in the first place, and how you feel about the situation, and you have to address it. As soon
Mm-hmm.
as you address it, you shift and you move forward. That kind of a blockage can stay with us for years and will be holding us from whatever we want to achieve. So essentially, that's how we are holding ourselves from our own goals, the things we want and need in our lives. And whenever we see that type of recurrent dream, and especially usually it's kind of nightmare, something that is very scary, or at least very daunting and very gloomy, let's say so, yeah. So that is that blocked energy inside of us that doesn't allow us to see what's really going on, where we should like look for directions
Mm-hmm.
and where look for those openings for us. Like in a tunnel, you have to go out of that tunnel to see that light and follow the light and move forward. So that's the way of representing a person being stuck. And the
Mm-hmm.
dream, wake up, you need to do something about it, especially if it's a recurrent dream.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And what are the common misconceptions about dreams, in your opinion? Like, where?
Oh, well, the dreams that first things first, the first thing, and we kind of talked about the first myth is that I don't dream. Yeah, and now we know that everybody dreams. It's just that you don't know how to remember the dream. You didn't teach yourself, you didn't train yourself on remembering the dreams, but everybody dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is that just dreams tell us the future. Well, in a way, I may say so.
That's a
But
really good
that is
one.
the
Yeah,
question. Yeah, that is the question that I am kind of often asked and say, hey, does my dream tell me the future? Well, the future is now. If you want to
sure.
say, think about it, if the future is now. You're making your future right now by feeling what you feel, by thinking what you think, and by making the choices, the actions you do, right? Your behavior. So essentially, in a way, when we work with a dream, we are shaping the future. We're choosing that type of a future you want to have, but they don't really tell us that that will happen. It's just like, going to a tarot reading specialist and hoping that they will tell you the future. It's kind of uh, silly, I would say.
Yeah.
If you have the tarot reading, it's about the what is now, where you feel where you're blocked, and how those images you see, because those also kind of a dreaming, they tell you where to move, how to
Mm-hmm.
change the perspective about what you see and what you feel, so you can move forward instead of feeling stuck all the time.
Yeah.
That is the misconception. And another misconception is probably the thing that, well, dreams are like meaningless. Uh,
Right.
Full. They will have that they are full of that type of a meaning, which is very unique to each of us. And they are also, there is a misconception that uh, the dreams is a woo stuff, like it's something that is not worth looking
Mm-hmm.
into. Uh, it does because it's you. How can you deny an aspect of what is going on to you? It's just when people say it's a rule of stuff, I mean, I'm not judging them, but I believe probably they're so much afraid of looking into the mirror of their own selves that they would rather not look there. And they would just want to open that can of worms because it's scary. It is scary to see what's really going on. And you can like, wow, that's also me. That dark figure somewhere in the bushes who feels somebody in my dream is my capable of this thing. So realize all of this thing that you feel yourself. Listen, if you see the figure feeling something, it's you, feel yourself, to do something for me. So that type of a thing scares when you see something. That's really common.
I think your battery could be low on your headphones. How is it? Because I'm
Yeah.
hearing a static noise on my side, and I don't.
Okay. I did feel that this is happening to that probably the I would change what is the
Yeah, let's try for you to change. It's like okay. Okay, yeah, let's do this way, and we can just cut this other. Just go back to the regular thing, yeah. Because I don't know why it's just I couldn't hear you anymore.
Yeah,
So and I
def
wanted to get like a final word, and I wanted for you
yeah.
to sound clear on that one.
Okay, yeah, that's totally fine. I think it's yeah, my earphones, but we can
I'm actually basically we got through all the questions. I mean, the
great.
last thing. So I was going to tell. I'm going to tell them. So as you can see, working with dreams is like a. I feel like it's a self-contained kit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what I understand what's up with that pink cat, right, on the side
Yeah,
of the road that I saw in my dream. But it's also getting connected with your higher self and subconscious, understand and get the clarity on life on your life and where you want to head out. Where you want to head out. Get clarity on your life and where you want to go from there. If you like your reality or not, or maybe you want to create a new one. And also
yeah.
using the dream as a tool, as an active
Cool.
tool,
Yeah,
and helping you out to move in the direction of the reality that you want to be in. So it's like
exactly.
a self contained toolkit.
That's
And
right.
let's go over working sessions with you. We did it tailored to me. We had 10 sessions. I know that you prefer working one on one with people, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe you can tell us a little bit how that goes, that whole protocol, that whole flow.
Oh yeah, that usually like we it's a normal cycle because again I'm big into numbers. All numbers are meaningful. The ones that we and you remember that we also talked about numbers. You mentioned about number 2. So number 10 is also meaningful. That's why I prefer to have 10 sessions for
Oh,
yeah working with the
interesting.
dreams. Yeah, working with the dreams like 10 sessions because it's the end and beginning of a new things and usually the shift happens in the cycles and within these 10 session cycles you can already experience the canvas of dreaming is changing, the dream world, the dream reality, the dream uh, picture is changing. So but for that to be noticeable you have to have the cycle, which is about number 10. That's why it's 10 sessions. And we usually meet like once a week. Again, person brings just one, the client or the person who wants to really learn to speak to oneself in a better language, not just disregarding yourself all the time. Would bring one dream per week, the one he or she likes most, or the one he or she feels that that is the one I want to know what it
Understand.
actually
Yeah.
means to me. Yeah, that's right. Do I really have to kind of interact with it? And then at the end, during this, every session, it can be again, the session lasts usually per hour, about an hour, because it depends on how big the dream is. But sometimes it can run a little over or a little bit less, but mostly an hour and a little bit more. And then we go into doing some exercises because
That was my
pretty
favorite
all
part.
the time. Yeah, pretty all the time. every dream people bring to the sessions, they have conflicts, they have necessities to address. So we
Sure.
work with the exercises, imagery, and then you either can have an next assignment or no, depending on how the dream
Mm-hmm.
is actually opened, and you just observe what's going on, and then you bring another dream, and then you bring another dream, and then finally you see how all of these dreams are connected, and how everything makes a more complete picture for you
Yeah.
now. And then you go on your own and try to work on dreaming more and more. But whenever you feel like, oh, okay, I'm stuck, I'm on that type of a level of dreaming where the images are more surrealistic for me, and I stop making sense and I need another push. So the clients may either come back for another 10 sessions or no, but it depends. So it's very
Right.
fluid. It's a very fluid process, and people usually choose to work with 10 sessions and then either have some time in between because you need to
Have a
process
break.
everything.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, and kind of calibrate and feel how it feels in this type of level of body. You already hear, it resonates with you, and then you move forward, whether you feel pretty solid, pretty not. But then a lot of people come back and say, hey, I want more. I'm coming back for my dream teacher every time, and she keeps helping me opening more and more dreams and diving deeper and deeper. But it's a process. I've studied it 15 years ago, and I'm still doing that, meaning like now and then I work with my dream teacher because she helps me to get even deeper to those level of my true self. It's like this entire universe inside of you, and you are learning yourself from inside out, and then seeing how it manifests into real life, into the universe that is
Yeah.
around you. You see how it's all one. It's amazing experience, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
It's like
I love
never.
I loved I love my experience. It was truly changing and needed for that moment in my life, because nothing is a coincidence.
Yeah.
But I did not know how much you actually give in those sessions, because my understanding was, okay, well, we'll see what the dream means, and that's it. But to actually use it as an actionable item for
Mhm.
your life, that was truly, truly incredible. So we're gonna leave some information for Tanya so that you can connect with her and maybe have a consultation of what can be done for you and your dreams. Otherwise, I want to thank you for your time and your energy. It was awesome. It's always awesome talking to you, whether it's online or in real life. But I truly felt like this information needs to be shared with as many people as possible because
Yeah.
it truly fulfills your mission and benefits others to create their desirable reality. So thank you so
Thank
much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Ina. Thank you for having me. It was really awesome because you are awesome. Okay,
Thank you.
that's great.
Appreciate you, Tanya. All right.
See you. Bye.